Hey, Tom here from King's Auto Repair, and today I want to show you how rear calipers that have the park brakes inside of them work. A couple weeks ago we had a Toyota RAV4 in that had a problem with the calipers, and we took them off and there were no cores on them. So I thought, hey, this is a great time to take these apart and show you how they work. They don't work the same as the front calipers on your car, or I should say they don't work the same as the brake calipers that don't have the parking brake assembly inside of them. So join me and we'll dig in and I'll show you how to take them apart, what causes them to fail, and what we can do to kind of fix them. So let's go. All right, so we got our gloves on. And now we're going to take a look at these calipers. Like I said, these are rear calipers off a Toyota RAV4. And I think we're going to start with this one over here. We've had this one apart already, kind of looking at it and kind of getting ready for this video. But this one over here I have not pulled all the way apart, and it has some good stuff on it that can probably show you to kind of show what happens to them. Why calipers fail. So one of the things you'll notice right here is there is a C-clip on the back and there is a threaded piece in here. This piece turns, and this is actually what works your parking brake inside, and when we get this one down here open, we'll be able to kind of go from there. I want to open this one last because I want to show you how much dirt is in it. I have a feeling that there's a bunch of dirt in it at 60,000 miles. For all the non-believers that you don't have to change your brake fluid, I'm pretty sure this one's going to be pretty dirty inside. But we're going to save that for the very end. One of the very biggest things we see that causes issues with pistons is, you can see on this one right here, the boot is torn. We get up in there, you'll see that we have bits and pieces of the boot are just torn off. And this allows dirt to get on this piston. And this piston is made to slide in and out of very, very tight bore in there. And when we open this one up, you'll be able to see that. But this is one of the #1 failures of brake calipers. This boot tears and it ends up damaging this piston, and when you push this piston in, it causes a caliper to leak, or it tears the seal and really allows it to allows the fluid to come out. So let's go. We'll take this one apart down here and we'll save this one for a little bit later. So when this works, there's a big electric motor on the back of this that bolts on to these two bolt holes right here. And it has the motor drive actually comes out and turns this back and forth, and that's what makes the park brake work. And it allows the piston to kind of go in and out. It will push the piston out and it'll make the brake pads clamp the rotor when you turn the park brake on. Now, it doesn't turn in there, it doesn't do any of that, but when you go to service these brakes, the very first thing you have to do is have the motor turn this all the way back. That way you can push the piston in. If you try to push the piston in without retracting the piece inside all the way back, you will break this piston or break the park brake mechanism inside here. What we're going to need to take this apart is a little bit of air pressure and some type of small block. I'm going to use this replacement lift pad that we have, and we're going to put it in here, because if you don't put something in, this piston will just fly right out, and it makes a heck of a racket. So you'll be able to see this when I put some air to it. So we're going to take our air gun here and we're going to just put a little bit of air to it, and that will push our piston out. So now we got our piston out, we can pull it the rest of the way, and you can see there is no boot left on this, and this is our piston. Now when we look closely at our piston, it looks pretty shiny, and this one actually did not have that much damage. This could probably be cleaned up and sent back, but I'm going to imagine we had to get this from the Toyota dealer and there was no core on it. I'm willing to bet we got an updated part, and you probably don't want to use these anymore because they have problems with them. But when that boot tears, what'll end up happening is you'll get pitting on this surface here. And when this pits and it goes in and out of the inside here, what'll end up happening is it will tear the O-ring inside. So we got our picks, and there is, well, I guess before we pull that out, we got to pull our park brake mechanism out. This is our park brake mechanism in there. So what ends up happening, I push this out of the back here, and this is our park brake mechanism. As you'll see, there's a seal on the back side here, and then we have a bearing, and this bearing will cushion this piece turning between, this bearing will cushion this as it turns and allow this piece to be turned out into the piston. And as this expands and this is held in place and this turns, what'll end up happening is it pushes itself out, and that's what locks the parking brake. So this thing going in and out. And that's why I said if you go to push this piston back without turning this back first, either this piston will break or this threaded rod here, that allows it to go in and out will break. So we definitely want to take that off first. And the inside of that cup just has a beveled edge that fits the inside of this right here. That way they fit together and don't push, and it pushes evenly across this cup. So as we go, we look at this a little bit more, you'll see there's a seal on this where it comes through the caliper here. We have a seal. There's probably there's a second one in there. Let's see if we can't get it out. Looks like it comes out the other side. We'll get our picks. And we have a second seal down in there that as this goes in, you will have two seals on top of each other. These seals here can hold back up to about 5,000 psi of pressure when the ABS brakes activate. So any kind of little tears or anything going wrong with them would cause this to leak. And then to seal our piston up, we have another seal inside here. Let's see if I can't get this out. And we have our other square cut seal. Now this seal's a little interesting. And it's going to be probably hard to see here, but we're going to have like a double bevel on this. So as this piston comes out and it slides through this seal and it's pushed on here, it's beveled back a little bit. And that's so when you apply the brakes, it pushes the bevel outward. And when you let off, the tension from that bevel being pushed back, being pushed outward, like that way, when you leave off of the brake pedal, that pressure, that bevel being pushed that way, will actually move this piston back in. So this seal actually grips this piston enough to push it back in. And that is what releases the brake pads on the rotor. So now you can see if you got corrosion and pitting on here, it would tear this seal up and cause it to leak. That's why the seal that is on the outside here is so important. That keeps all that dirt from building up and ruining, and basically building up and ruining this piston. So, and we got this one apart, and this outer seal here. Let's see if we can't pull this outer seal out and what's left of it. It's gonna fight me. Oh, there we go. So this is what's left of that seal. This should have like a full boot to go over this guy as it comes out to cover it. All right, so that's basically what happens. Now, when we do have dirt on this piston and it gets pushed back through the seal, what can happen is it gets in this bore here and it scrapes up this bore, and then it needs to be cut out and kind of resized. And that's how they rebuild calipers. You used to be able to get a lot of this stuff years ago. It's very difficult to find it anymore. There's just not a whole lot of it here in the US. A lot of this stuff is built overseas. My guess, this here is probably built in Chile. So what I want to show you with this caliper here, when we go to take it apart, I really want to show you what brake fluid looks like in this thing at about 60,000 miles, because I'm assuming it's going to be pretty dirty. So as we go, I'm going to get my air gun again. We're going to put just a little bit of air into this. All right, we got our piston pushed out. You can see this did get wet along here from the brake fluid coming out. So we're going to flip this over, and you can see how dark this one is compared to that. Got a lot darker. So let's pull this piston out the rest of the way, and you can see there's a little bit of this seal still sticking to it in the back here. We got a little bit still sticking back here. So what we're going to do, we're going to take that and we're going to pop that off the rest of the way so we can get this piston out. There we go. Popped out, but didn't make a huge mess. All right. So now we're going to be able to see what kind of dirt is actually in this. And this is one of the reasons dirt builds up in these systems too, is because these park brakes go in and out all the time, and there's always a little bit of wear on them. So here we have our piston. And I can see there's a little bit of fluid in the bottom of that. So what we're going to do, and get a white paper towel here. That way you can see it very well. I'm going to set that to the side, and we're going to dump the brake fluid out. And now we dump this brake fluid out, you'll be able to see all that dirt that is in there. See all that dirt? And this only has 60,000 miles on it. And the reason I want to talk about this dirt and why you need to flush this out, this is the other reason these calipers fail. This dirt gets in there, you know, mostly from this stuff actuating, and brake fluid naturally attracts water. And what ends up happening is that these little pieces of dirt, they cut this beveled seal. And when they cut this beveled seal enough, they start to leak or they start to jam, and they cause all kinds of problems. So that's one of the reasons you're starting to see a lot of manufacturers recommend doing brake fluid services every 2 to 3 years. I know a lot of the luxury brands will say every 2 years. We say every 3 years here. I think every other year is pretty excessive, but it really does lower the chances of an issue happening with the brake calipers, because you are removing this dirt from the system. So anyway, I hope this was a little bit of an informative about how this works, And I think here for the end, we're going to take this and we're going to spray this out. And I promised you a little bit of why, like what you can do to help prevent some of this issue. Mostly flush your brake system, and when you go to push these pistons, push the pistons back and doing brakes. Old guy years ago told me, he's like, look, if they don't want to push back correctly, make sure they're lubed up. So we always spray them with like WD-40 or some kind of penetrating oil just to allow this seal to fold and move easier. That way you don't have issues with this seal breaking, and because the seals breaking and keeping the dirt out is the #1 reason for caliper failure. We see so many of them come in that have busted seals and have caliper issues. So lube these guys up before you push them back in. Like any other rubber piece, they dry out over time, they tear, and they lead to having problems with that. So if you keep these seals right here lubed up, flush the brake system every 2 to 3 years, you won't have any issues with brake calipers. And it'll be way cheaper than replacing them. I mean, calipers are not cheap. So our very last thing here, we're going to use some brake clean, and you can watch all the dirt that was in there just come out. Looks like we got some chunks, looking a lot cleaner in there now. So anyway, we got some chunk. We got a chunk right there, chunk right there. We got some chunks down here. And anyway, that stuff builds up, ends up ruining your brake caliper. Anyway, I hope that kind of explains brake calipers to you. If you had any questions about it, leave them down below. We'll try to answer them. So anyway, have a great day.